this. How do ulama of Ahl Sunnah justify Omar threatening to burn? Because the one thing there is no doubt about in the whole incident of the door is Omar threatening to burn the house that belongs to Imam Ali and Fatima. Whether he threatens to burn Fatima, those gathered in the house, the reality is that this house, he threatens to burn. How many grow up? And when they grow up in their world, they are taught about Umar ibn al-Khattab, but this area not taught about. This area will not be discussed. Why? Too sensitive. But there are some amongst the Sunni world who will justify Umar's threat. How do they justify? Someone says, how could you justify threatening to burn the house of Ahl al-Bayt? Baba, now in London, if I saw someone threatening to burn the house, wouldn't you call 999? Wallah, I ask you all a question. Wouldn't you call 999? If someone threatened to burn a house in America, would you call 911? I would tell you the area codes of police everywhere in the world, but these are the only two that I know. 999, 911. I'll say there's a person here who's threatening to burn our house. Police, what would they reply? Would they say, may Allah be pleased with him? Wallah, what do you think a police officer would turn around and say to you, may God be pleased with him? No person will say, listen, we're going to have a word. So how do they justify Umar threatening to burn the house? This is interesting. First justification, you must hear this. This is enlightening stuff. Let's hear the first justification. They say that Umar's threat is only a threat. Not that he means to do it. I'm going to burn your house. But please don't take that I'm going to do it. I'm just threatening, but I'm actually quite a nice guy. I'm going to burn your house tomorrow. But I don't mean it, but I'm just saying, have you ever met anyone who tells you I'm going to burn your house and they're saying it as a joke? Have you met anyone who says, I'm going to burn your house as a joke? Normally, if you tell someone I'm going to burn your house, normally it's something of a violent threat. So what happens is that they justify it by saying Umar has done this before and has never fulfilled what he has threatened. In the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba, Umar's son had put fabric, like an expensive fabric, drape, which at the time was seen as luxurious. And Umar blatantly says that if this is done, then I will burn the house. They say, but Umar never burned his son's house. Therefore, when Umar says, I would, doesn't mean Umar never did it. Umar threatened to burn the house where there was an expensive drape, which his son had bought. They said, Baba, this is a sign of Umar's modesty. And that Umar is against those, dunya and luxury things. So he said to his son, he said, I will burn the house if you have this. I ask you a question. If your son bought an expensive curtain, would you say, I'm going to burn your house if this turns out to be true? Wallah, I ask you all a question. Wallah. Of course, when they want to use the hadith in the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba to justify their point, they use. If Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba attacks Muawiyah or talks about the door, that you can't use. But when you want to use it to prove Umar's height. So, I ask you all a question, everybody listening at home. If your son or your daughter bought an expensive fabric of a curtain at home, you could say, Baba, this is israf. True? You could say this. But will you say to them, Wallah, I'm going to burn the house? So, Baba, what do you mean burn the house? Are you okay today, Bob? What's wrong with you? What do you mean burn the house? I bought an expensive curtain. Please forgive me. I will not buy a curtain like this in the future. Omar ibn al-Khattab, they say when he threatened to burn the house of Fatima, the first justification is he has done a similar threat to burn a house, but he didn't burn that house. So why? This is just a threat. Second, they say Rasulullah was the type of man who would threaten to burn people's houses, sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. They say that the Holy Prophet would threaten to burn people's houses. Huh? And they say Sahih al-Bukhari. The Prophet says when adhan time comes, and we check people for prayer, I threaten to burn someone's house. Imagine, adhan time comes and you have not gone for salah. So what do you do? What do you do if you find someone has not gone for salah? You go and burn their house? In the Sahih, it says that the Prophet, peace be upon him, his family, adhan has come, people have not gone for jama'ah, then one of the things you do is burn the house. So they say if Omar ibn al-Khattab threatened to burn the house of Fatima, so did Rasulullah threaten to burn people's houses at the time of adhan. Third reason to justify Omar burning or threatening to burn. Say, Baba, Omar ibn al-Khattab, you have to understand, these threats don't mean it'll actually actualize, for example. It will be actualized. Says, do you not remember Osama bin Zayd? Osama bin Zayd was asked, a lady stole something. They went to Osama bin Zayd, the tribe. They said, do you mind interceding for us with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for the lady that's stolen? That Osama, have a word. Imagine in our community now, someone stole something. You come to me and you're like, say that, can you speak with so-and-so? When Osama went to the Prophet, peace be upon him, Prophet said, huh? When the people of high repute are the ones the punishment doesn't come towards, you are all silent. But when someone weak does it, no one helps them. No one thing. Because what he's trying to say is, if someone important steals, you try and get contacts to look after them. But if someone weak steals, then what do? If someone weak steals, you forget about them. He said, by Allah, if my daughter Fatima stole, I will cut her hand. So you know what they say? They say, but did the Prophet cut Fatima's hand? No. So if the Prophet says, by Allah, if Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, stole, then by Allah, I will sever the hand of Fatima. By the way, I don't believe in this nonsense hadith. Okay? There's no way Rasulullah would use Fatima Zehra alayhi salam as an example that if Fatima stole, we cut her hand. But anyway, they say, you see, but did the Prophet ever cut Fatima's hand? Astaghfirullah. When did Fatima come near such nonsense of stealing? But what do they say? See, so when Omar ibn... Look at the justifications. Wallah, it's unbelievable. Omar ibn al-Khattab blatantly threatening to burn the house of Nubuwwah, the house of the Wahi, the house of the Risala, the house of guidance. And instead of saying that I dissociate from such an act, rather, wallah, I want to give my justifications for this act. Justifications? This was the house Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to walk past. Assalamu alaikum ya ahla bayt an-nubuwwah. Was not this the house? All the doors were closed except this one. Was not this the house where Jibreel used to come? Was not this the house where the Prophet sat? Does the Quran not say, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu la tadkhulu buyutan ghayra buyutikum hatta taslimu wa tusallimu ala ahliha? The Quran says, oh, you who believe, don't enter houses which are not your houses until you make it clear with politeness. We bore you someone's house. Say, Salamu alaikum, Ya Allah, before we enter. True? Instead, I have moments after the Prophets died, Omar ibn al-Khattab threatening to burn the house. 1,000 years later, no, few hundred years later, people trying to explain, but Baba Omar, when he threatens, doesn't mean he's going to do it. But you want to know the funniest one I ever heard? The funniest one. Omar is not saying, I'm going to burn Fatima. I'm going to burn over the house. I'm not going to burn, you people who are watching at home, I'm not going to burn your kids. I'm going to burn the house they live in. First thing, people will look at me and they'll be like, I don't understand. Wallah, did you just say you're going to burn our house? Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah gives a problem. The problem is that if Omar is threatening to burn the house, yes, the threat of burning the house, the biggest problem that you face is what? They say that not Fatima, over the house of Fatima. Why? Because Ali ibn Abi Talib and Zubair and Salman and others are gathering in that house. They continue to conspire. That goes against the government. And anybody who goes against the government should be burnt. That's Islam. Wallah, in your own conscience, that's Islam. Forget your love for Fatima Zehra alayhi salam. And part of the biggest problem in non-Shia is their love for Fatima and Hassan and Hussein is more because of their association to the Prophet rather than their merit. More their ilaqa with the Prophet, their relation rather than their merit. I'm not surprised. Bukhari, you look how many traditions Bukhari has from Fatima Zahra. Wallah, lucky if you get more than one. I'm not surprised. Others